Welcome to Target's AFI Night at the Movies and the screening of Moonstruck, which we're all excited about. You guys are so lucky to have gotten tickets. As you know, this is a hugely popular event, and it's not hard to see why. To get great movies back on theater screens and then have their stars there to introduce them is just the best. And I salute AFI for doing it and you for coming out and supporting all of this. Well, if you love romantic comedies, as I do, and as you probably do, you can't be too happy with what's been going on lately in that field. It's not exactly a high water mark era for the romantic comedy. So what does it take to make a really great one, like Moonstruck? Well, you need a really good script, like one written by playwright John Patrick Shanley, one where every character is interesting, every character, even if they're on screen just for a short amount of time. And where they're full of contradiction. They're not stock characters, no cliches. And where you care about these people. You come to really care. Come to know them, you relate to them, and you care about them. Then you need a director who can get all the value out of that screenplay in translating it to the screen. Someone like, say, Norman Jewison, and who by the way, also directed In the Heat of the Night. So he's got two movies playing here tonight. And Norman Jewison has a lot to do, of course, with casting. And again, because there's so many characters in this piece, if there's any weak link, it's going to hurt the movie. So again, every character, no matter how small or seemingly minor, is well filled and well played. And then, of course, it doesn't hurt to have good stars, like Nicolas Cage and our guest tonight, Cher.
Thank you. Thank you. This is what happens when you get old. Everyone stands up constantly. All right. There's so many stories that I could tell you about this film because I was writing them down, and there are a gazillion. So I'll just tell you some that come to my head because there are too many to get bored and walk out. So when I was, when they asked me to do this film, I was doing 3 films in a row, Witches of Eastwick, I was doing Witches of Eastwick, Tiny Break, then Suspect. And so they came with this film, and I remember reading the script thinking, this script is crazy, and I just remember Chrissy bring me the big knife. But I loved it. But then I started working, and I knew that Witches was going to be a big battle and a long film. So I called my agent. I said, I just can't do this movie. And he said, all right, but you have to tell Patrick and Norman. So I went, all right, I will. So all I remember was they knocked on the door, and then we were together for a certain amount of time, and then I was standing at the elevator, and the elevator opened. They went in, and I said, I can't wait. This would be so much fun. So my agent was smart. So then it was kind of great from the beginning because I got to look at all the people that were being considered and got to put in my 2 cents. And then there was the kind of a big fight where I quit the film, and that was because I had seen Nicky Cage and Peggy Sue Got Married, and I just said, this is the guy, this is the guy that can look into his wooden hand. And so they said, no, we don't want him. And I said, okay, well then I don't want to do it. And then everything, as you can see, he got the job. And then the people in this film are so amazing. Every one of them. Julie, like when I first met Julie, she was supposed to teach me how to speak in this, Brooklyn accent. And she was great. But then my boyfriend actually really was the one that was fabulous because we would stand on the line if we were going to the movie theater and he would make me say, Florida, theater and for you. And so that's how I kind of got the accent. So Robert was teaching me. And then when we started, everybody was so wonderful. We thank God we had rehearsal time. And I'm not sure, I know that Norman liked me, but I don't know. I was the unknown factor, I was a little bit of Peck's bad girl. But we really got along immediately. And during the rehearsal process, everyone was so wonderful. Louis and Fyodor Chalyapin Jr., who was about 100 years old. And he played my grandfather. And I remember one thing, Olympia had gone white, her hair had gone white, and she was so excited because finally she could be a blonde. And then Norman said, no, you have to have white hair. And she begged, she begged and pleaded and all that. Also, he said, you can't cry. I know that it seems that this woman would be crying all the time because her husband is cheating on her and her life is over and blah, blah, blah. But he said, I never want to see you cry. And I'm sure that's the reason she got the Academy Award, because she was so fabulous and stoic. And yes. And of course, Danny was such a big baby and perfect for the role. At the end, in the last scene in the kitchen, Danny didn't want to be in it and Nikki didn't want to be in it, which kind of left a huge hole in the storyline. And so Norman was so smart. He just started a big fight. And Nikki threw a chair, and Danny was sitting on the couch on the chair going, I'm not doing this. I don't care if I get to drink champagne. I don't have anything to say. And so he just kind of did a whirlwind to everybody because it was very static. It was many pages in a kitchen, nobody actually moving. So Nikki got angry, and so that kind of got the energy up, and he threw the chair towards Julie, and that kind of got the energy up. So we were all, and Fyodor was just like, I don't know what's happening. And so, and so that was, it was great. And the last scene for me is a great movie, a great scene. My favorite scene of mine, because I'm not really a huge Cher fan, but my favorite scene is when Vincent and I are sitting at the table and I'm telling him that I'm going to get married again, and he's going, you did it once, you're unlucky. And I went, and I was telling him all this stuff about I had to have the wedding by myself and no cake and no this, that, and the other. But then there's this moment where I'm talking to him and I'm flicking the paper off of the champagne bottle, and then he says something to me, and I just make a gesture, and that's my favorite part in the whole movie. Like a gesture, no talking, just a gesture. And our cinematographer had narcolepsy. No, it's like so perfect, David. Great, but he could light in 2 seconds, and then we had a cot for him someplace. And after he lit the scene where I confess, one time I slept with the brother of my fiance. He lit it, and then someone moved his cot, and we couldn't find him because we needed a relight of a little thing. So we were spending like 10 minutes trying to find him. Nobody knew where he was. So that was fun. He was a great guy. And what else? There's so many great stories, but I really enjoyed working with everyone. And when we would sit down, because we shot it in a house, and we would sit down in one of the rooms and we'd be talking and just whatever. And then they'd call everybody to get in places, and then we'd get up and then we'd go into another room, and it would be like we never stopped. It's like we never were acting. I kept thinking, this cannot be a good movie because nobody's acting. It's so weird, You just move from one room to the other and you just keep talking. But then MGM didn't like it and they didn't want to put it out. So I had been given a little shirt with a lion across it that says, MGM, and the little lion. It was a, retro shirt. And so I was so upset that I had sucks put on it in red rhinestones. And yeah. And so they said that it had no audience, that they had tested it and it had no audience. It was a sweet film, but no one was going to see it. And then they went with another film, and then that film started to fall out of the theaters. And as it fell out of the theaters, MGM had nothing else to put in, and they started putting in Moonstruck. And it became, well, a huge success. And so I don't think I have anything more exciting than that to say, except it was one of the most exciting, bland film experiences I ever had, because I had just come off Witches, which was, oh my God. And so then to go to Norman, but the only thing that was kind of weird too is Norman would sit under the camera and laugh, which took me a long time to kind of get rid of. And I did set myself on fire. That's kind of an interesting story. You know, when we're outside and I'm crying, and Mickey and I are outside and we're talking and I'm crying, and I was so cold that I was crying for real. And I had that black coat on and I kept going into a doorway. And I backed up and I set my coat on fire so we could only be shot from the front. They could never move around. So anyway, I think it's a great movie, and it's one of, I could actually watch this movie. You know, if I don't pay really attention, if I'm paying attention to everybody else, I can watch it and enjoy it. And I do think it's good, and I think that you've probably seen it before, but I know you're going to enjoy it.